Good sir, have you ever had problems with your Tyco turbotrain? Well, let me explain. You see this right here? This is nickel silver. And yes, you heard me, nickel silver. Running a Tyco turbotrain with magnets made for steel. On nickel silver? Am I crazy? Possibly. But today I will be showing you how exactly to get your Tyco turbotrain running at fairly good performance on nickel silver track. Now, everyone else is like, oh, hey, you know how to fix the tyco turbotrain? Well, you just take your tyco turbotrain, you pull this little slot car motor out of here, and discard it. Because, hey, it's tyco. We don't like them. Well, not all the time. But a lot of people take it out because they just don't want the hassle of getting it to work. Well, after probably about 30 minutes of tinkering, I found out exactly how to get your Tyco turbotrain to work. All it includes is, so I shall show this, you need to remove, as I will do here, these two screws. There's one here, and there's one here. That will take out the slot car chassis in itself. Now, to actually get your Tyco turbotrain running, what I found out, as said before, a lot of people take this little slot car motor here because they don't want a slot car on their HO scale, and they discard of it. And then they go out and buy a switcher. They go out and buy either a switcher motor or they make a whole little engine mount themselves. Well, I'm going to show you here, for you cheapskates, not really, I just wanted original parts in here, so that's why I did this, how to actually get this little slot car motor running by itself without actually replacing a single thing in it. So the Tyco turbotrain, originally made for steel track, has, as you can see here, magnets in it, okay? The other cars, including themselves, also have magnets. Every car on the train has magnets, because originally when it was made, it was to be used on steel track, and it would go upside down and do the daredevil jump, or the loop-de-loop on the Tyco layout or whatever. Tyco is long since gone, and I've seen probably 2 videos out there on how to change your Tyco turbotrain over to running on nickel silver, okay? All the videos, as I've kind of joked about before, include taking this whole slot car chassis for the 3rd time, yeah, you heard me, I know, and getting rid of it. Well, I want original parts in here because Tyco turbotrain claims that the turbotrain, the Tyco turbotrain, not the Rapido or any of that stuff, is the world's fastest HO scale train. Well, let me explain. After I've gone through this, I can still say that it does indeed hold the record for that, because this little slot car chassis has a gear ratio of 3 to 1 or 6 to 1, I don't remember exactly, which makes this thing a real little speedy guy. So what I did exactly to get this working, and I'll show you it towards the end, running, is actually really simple. I took 2 lead fishing weights, took some ice, and you got to tinker with this yourself because I don't know if you have the same ones as me, but you got to find the right weight, because if you put too much of these lead weights on there, it weighs it down and the front of it loses traction and it won't move. But if you don't put enough, then the back of it doesn't weigh enough and it throws itself off when it's driving. So I used one little torpedo. Well, I dropped it. That's all right. I used one torpedo and one of the little circle ones. And that said, I took 2 or 3 little pieces of tape. I put them in the very back of the motor and put a couple pieces of tape on it. With that being said, that is all you actually have to do, because it's enough weight to hold it down, and once you get your Tyco turbotrain running, it should run fine. Because on the other hand, too, I've noticed, one of the main things I should say, when you first get this, I bought mine brand new, well, new old stock, I bought it on eBay. I don't know, depending on what you buy yours from, it needs to be broken in. So you're going to have to sit here. Well, it doesn't have to be broken in before this. Once you put the weights in it, you're going to have to probably push it around your track and go back and forth between forward and backwards for a bit until it actually breaks the motor in and it runs smoothly, because then it'll run. Until then, it's going to kind of sit on your track like this. Here, let me take this dummy car really quick. Sits on your track, and it goes, if I can get this on, there we go. You'll turn the power on, it'll move, and it'll go about this much, and then it'll stop. And you'll hit it, and it'll go and stop. You see how bad that is compared to some of these other trains' performances? Yeah. You know, Tyco turbotrain looks awesome, but if it runs like that, it's garbage. Not really, actually. I can't say that because it's pretty cool, but still. Ooh. It just looks neat. I gotta say that. Gotta throw that out there. All right, getting back to the point. So once you put the lead weights in here and tape them, you're going to, let me set my camera back up again. You're gonna need to take your chassis. Now, one thing I will say too, because originally when I took the factory screws off, it was pretty hard, and I just about cracked or broke one of the little glass pieces on here for the windows. You need to put them back in tight enough that it holds the chassis here, but very lightly. If you don't drop them, maybe your first bit. But you need to put them back in here as so, lightly. Screw them down and get them out, get them all the way in there. But don't turn them too tight. Just get a little bit of force on it, because the harder you put them in there, the harder it's going to be to get out, and the more force you're actually going to have to put on this to get them back out, which could possibly break it. And since I bought this for details, and since I wanted it to look nice, I didn't want to do that. Because what's the point of working on all this time to get it running, get it looking good, running fine as heck, and then break a window on it and be mad at myself. Let me get these cars back on the track. Okay, there we go. I got the... Okay, so after reading the actual Tyco box, if you read it, I don't have it with me now, I put it back in storage. It says, do not run the engine unit with the cars. In the very beginning, while you're still breaking it in, and you don't have to fully break it in first, you need to play with it a little bit after you put these weights in it. You can play with it for a bit until it gets going decently. It might not run at all well. I'm going to go against the box right now. I'm going to tell you, once you get it broken in just a tiny bit, put the cars on it. This unit will throw itself off the track at very slow speeds just by itself. Not all the time will it, but most of the time it does. So then, you gotta take the cars, hook them together, put it back on here. Now, on my unit, I use an Athearn, little Athearn power pack. I put it about 40% throttle, 45, sorry, and that's what runs it fine. Otherwise, if you get going too fast, it will go too fast and throw itself off. So, with that being said, put it at 45, give the engine just a tiny tap to get it going. I might not have it on right either. Yep, there we go. And it's not on right. Okay, so, first step of the day. Don't put your train on here unless it's fully on right. Okay, now, with that being said, put her back to 45% throttle, and now I may have to get it warmed up again. It does take a bit of time and a little bit of amount of playing to find the right throttle and everything. Turn it up just a little more. There we go. Once you have, see this right here, this is what the train would do originally. It'd go like this and go a tiny bit, and then it wouldn't move. Whoa. Okay, so pro tip also, if you're using it on nickel silver, which I am here, don't have any other steel parts on your track, because the power of the cars locking onto it will actually stop the engine from moving, just by how much force they put on it. So once you get her going, it takes a little bit of time to play with and mess with. The Tyco Turbo will get back up to speed. I was down here really messing with it, and it cooled off now since I've done that last. But once you actually get it going, it should run just about like that. Let me give it a little more throttle. You got to play with it just a little bit. You got to get it just perfect, and it'll run along your entire layout fine. You may have to break it in again every so often, but I know this looks like a failed project, and I'm kind of not feeling good about doing it like that now. There. I don't have the editing skills of all this, so I'm just going to go through all this. The Tyco Turbo, as you can see here, is a problem sometimes. But once you get the chassis in there and you get the lead weights in there, you just got to mess with it a little bit. and it will run like new. You just can't let it get stuck on the silver track, or the steel track like that. Once it gets going, though, like that, let me shut the power off. Once it gets going, you gotta screw with it for a bit. Go forward and backwards. Find out whichever way your Tyco turbo runs best, because Tyco is known for their engines running in one direction better than the other. Once you run it in that for a bit and get it warmed up, then it's fine. I know I look really bad right now because I can't get it running, but I can assure you, I had it running earlier. I just let it sit for a bit because I had to go outside and do some stuff. But once that's all said and done, if you get your Tyco turbo trimmed out just right, where you put enough weights in it, you can hear it running. So you see it runs. It's not on the track. You know, that would help. All right, I'm going to put her in reverse. Mine runs best in reverse, so I don't know which way whoever whatchamacallits does best, because I don't know which turbo model you have or which turbo model will run in certain directions or do best at some spot. Other than derailments, mine runs fine. You just got to get it perfectly trimmed out. But here is my way of saying you can get your Tyco turbo. As you saw there, it went fast. It goes fast. It still works. You just have to play with it for a bit. If you use a few lead weights in there to help hold the back down, because I probably should have explained this earlier, these little prongs lift the back up so much that the car throws itself off while you're driving. If you get this all tuned out perfectly fine, like I had it going earlier, then it's fine. If you let it sit for a bit and cool off, you may have to screw with it each time again, I guess, apparently. I've just found this out. But, you know, I personally think I'd rather have original stuff in my train rather than put a whole new engine unit in there. So, depending on what you want or what money you have to spend, because, not going to lie, switcher engines or power units for them are $120. So, if you want your turbo train to run well and not have to spend a bunch of money, just put a couple fishing weights in it like I did. It runs. I just can't get it to go on this video because my luck, but it does run, I can assure you. Alright, thanks.